Hey everyone, I'd like to show you how to use our free self-storage demand analysis tool. This tool is super useful if you're trying to understand how much demand there is for self-storage within your particular area. So I've got the tool pulled up. Let's get right into it. For reference, I'm looking at a deal called Parklane Storage in Georgetown, Texas. We're going to be looking at the 3, 5, and 10 mile radius around the site. And first we're going to be calculating the gross market demand for the site. So to begin, I need to pull in current total population. To do that, I'm going to go over to TrackedIQ. I've got my facility pulled up in TrackedIQ already in Georgetown, Texas, and I'm going to click Analyze Deal. And then I'm going to go over to the Demographics tab. And right at the top, we've got our total population number for 3, 5, and 10 miles. I'm going to pull this data and stick it right into our tool right here, which I've already done. Next up, we need the self-storage demand multiplier. And actually, this data, I'll flip over here, comes from the Self-Storage Almanac, which is published yearly. And basically, they give you the top 50 MSAs and their estimated demand metric for each of those MSAs. So we've pulled that data into this tool, and we've input it here. So we're pulling in the estimated self-storage demand multiplier specifically for the Austin, Texas MSA. So that's what's going on right here. We also want to consider demand from our commercial tenants and some small businesses, so we've added in a multiplier right here to account for that. If we multiply that all together, we get a gross market demand in square feet of 717,000. So in short, within 5 miles of our site, there is a need for self-storage in the amount of 717,000 square feet, which is great information to know, but it's only half of the equation. We also need to consider existing supply within the market. So to do that, I'm going to flip back over to TrackedIQ here, and I'm going to go to Opportunity. And here is where we can find that data. So here is the square footage of self-storage that is existing in the 3, 5, and 10 mile radiuses. So I'm going to take that data and stick it right here. You'll see that within 5 miles there's already 1.1 million square feet of self-storage, resulting in a net demand of negative 400,000 square feet of self-storage. So it looks like there's an imbalance between demand and supply. There's more supply than what is needed right now, which is not a great sign, but maybe this is a high growth area, and within 5 years it'll be balanced out a little more and the numbers will look a little better. So let's take a look at that. We're going to be calculating the projected gross and net demand next. So let's take a look at this line. This is the projected total population within 5 years. We can also get that data from TrackedIQ. So let me go back here and click on Demographics and scroll down a bit to the population growth projections area. Just a little side note, TrackedIQ also projects population based on housing developments, which is interesting, but for this example I'm just going to be using the census data. So I'll take that data and plug it in here, and I've already done that. We've already talked about the self-storage demand multiplier and the commercial demand multiplier. And then we're going to be looking at not only the existing supply within the market, but we want to consider what's under construction as well, and that will likely deliver within the next 5 years. So I'm going to go back to TrackedIQ, and if we look at the map, there's all these yellow dots are self-storage facilities under construction, so we definitely know there's some self-storage that will be delivering in the near future. I'm going to go back to Executive Summary, and here is where I can find the data, the amount of square footage that is projected to be delivered soon within the next 5 years. So I'm going to take that data, I'm going to plug it in here to make sure we account for that in our calculations. These next 2 lines are for you to use if you are planning to expand your facility. So if I was to buy this property and I'm planning to do an expansion, I could account for that here in this calculation. But for this example, I'm going to leave it at 0 Let's say I'm not planning to expand the property, so we'll leave it at 0. Now we can look at projected net demand. We'll see it's over negative 500,000 now. So it's still negative, meaning, in 5 years we still think there's going to be an imbalance between the supply and demand, and it's just a little bit oversupplied at the moment compared to the demand in the market. These next two sections are just calculating the total supply per capita and projected supply per capita, which are interesting and important metrics to look at. But I also like to look at the gross market demand and the net demand as well. So just to wrap up, if this were me and I was looking at this deal and I saw that the net demand was negative and the projected net demand was also negative, it would be a concern for me. Just thinking about the supply and the demand and how the supply is definitely outpacing the demand here. I would definitely want to make sure these are positive. If this was a positive number and if this was a positive number, that would be a good sign, suggesting that there's still demand in the market that hasn't been met yet. So hopefully this is helpful to you as you are looking at deals and doing your own due diligence.